Hello and welcome to this bite-sized series where we're going to be covering everything AI. Today I'm joined by the lovely Emily Saunders-Madden, Mr. Tommy Moore and Mr. Nick Fagan. So Emily, I'll come to yourself first. So with the explosion of AI technologies, how has customer expectations changed when it comes to AI?
I think customer expectations have just increased. For our point of view, AI is less an explosion and more an awareness piece. AI has been around for quite a while, and we've been using it for quite a while in various things, events, digitally, also for our campaigns. But people are more aware that we are using that. They have concerns around how we use it, the data that we're inputting about themselves. What it does enable us to do, however, is to really tailor all our messages and tailor anything we put out to various audiences in a more personalised manner. So, for instance, in a campaign, we're able to monitor customer sentiment and react to that in a much shorter time span than ever before. We're able to tailor experiences in events and digitally to various customers in a much more niche, personalised manner rather than grouping people in kind of generalised stereotypes. We're actually using that data to improve their experience.
Something else I wanted to talk to you about today was customer experience tech. So many people believe we're now in a kind of arms race where, you know, the tech is either going to keep getting better and better or potentially level out. What's your thoughts on this?
Tech is always improving, and AI is a development of digital machine learning. So that's asking a computer to learn about our audiences so that we can do something positive with that data. We've been using this kind of technology for a while, but it is about making sure that everybody understands the transparency of how we use it and that we do use it for that good, that positive improvement for our events, for our digital experience, things like accessibility and such.
Mr. Moore, I'll come to you now. So we're going to talk all things creativity and AI. So right. How important is it to stay creative in a world of AI?
Creativity, AI is like a lion, right? And we are the lion trainers. And it can be well-behaved or poorly behaved. The human still has the control of the platform. So if we are to make it more creative than ever, we need to add the creativity to the machine. We need to feed it the knowledge, the insights, the algorithms that make it as near to human in creative possibilities and solutions than ever before.
Nick, I'll come to yourself. Do you think that these technologies will play a bigger part in upcoming solutions? I mean, how do you think that will play out?
Correct. I think you will see AI, machine learning, and all the technologies that are under that one hat for our customers coming to the forefront of solutions. A great example is something called ethical facial analysis. Now, facial recognition is another technology that's been around for a number of years. And to be completely transparent, I'm not specifically talking about facial recognition. I'm talking about a camera that can look at a person and determine how they're emotionally feeling. And more importantly than that, can do it correctly. And this is only recently accurate because of the ability to process large amounts of information in the cloud and cross-reference that with more than a decade of results to truly understand an individual. Because somebody's smiling doesn't mean they're engaged. You know, we all have a different baseline. And so an example of that is, imagine if you knew what your customers were interested in, but not procuring. Imagine if you were selling a range of services to a customer and you knew that actually, 80% of the people that came onto the stand were really interested in these, but actually only this many checked out with that. That information is worth so much and it's unbiased. It's not an 8 out of 10 on a how was the event. It's an accurate representation of how the individual engaged for an experience.
Thanks, Nick. That kind of contradicts in a way what Tommy was saying there. I don't know if you want to expand on your previous point there, Tom.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge contradiction. I think what AI is very good at is the mechanics of surface emotion. So if you think of it like a computer game where people map facial expressions, that game character is happy, sad, irate, or whatever. It's good at where do the muscles go when people typically feel typical things. And that's one surface level. But human emotions are so rich and deep and complex, and anyone else that's been in Facebook jail like me knows that often the machines don't quite get the parlor language, the deeper meanings, the deeper sentiments that only humans can intuit for other humans. So I think AI can take us so far, but it's our duty as AI trainers to give it the best possible shot at being as human as possible. But I think people will always want that line between, am I speaking to a human or a robot? Humans are good at human things, robots are good at robot things, and there will always be a little line betwixt those two, I feel at least.
There's a simple kind of example that I'm going to use here, Nick. Apologies, I'm going to take your facial recognition metaphor and kind of expand that a little bit. For instance, when you're talking about somebody smiling, normally we'd associate that with happiness, but actually there's an awkward smile. There's I'm being a polite smile. There's a smile of pure joy just as somebody's about to laugh. All of these subtleties are still related to that visual representation of a smile. And actually, a computer doesn't necessarily understand those intricacies. And while we're using the example here of visual recognition, we are able to do that, for instance, in digital listening with the written word. So anything you might post on social media or in the open internet, for instance, that can also be tracked. And it's all in a similar fashion. You know, a computer can only discern what it's been trained to discern. And I think we're still limited by the number of people that are able to program this AI, going back to one of Tommy's earlier points.
I mean, they're brilliant points, and I agree with them. And I'm happy to report that's what's changing, right? So it's not somebody smiling, they're engaged, as I previously said. It's actually that individual walked into the room smiling. We develop a baseline, and around 2 minutes, we can get a baseline on an individual, and we can determine that that individual is actually engaged. Sometimes when they frown, sometimes when they tilt their head, sometimes when their eye contact is with a specific product for a longer period of time. It's a coming together of multiple forms of body language, of emotional intelligence that, you're right, Tommy, is internal to an individual and not always on their face. But what are their hands, what are their arms doing? What's their stature like? You know, and people are different. Every single individual is different. So one of the things that's changed recently in AI is the ability to build 500 baselines at one time from one 4K camera on one computer. And that is done by processing measurements in the cloud, not processing lots of video data. So AI has specifically enabled that. And you're right, absolutely, that it's not just about this thing means this thing. It's actually when you've got a combination of all these different inputs, what does that mean? And that's what AI has enabled us to get right.
So this next question, I'll open it up to the panel, but Nick, I'll come to yourself first on this one. If you've got one thing to share about the impact of AI on customer experience, what would that be? Can you talk us through that?
I would say one of the biggest positive impacts that AI will have on customer experience is accurately giving a customer relevant, correct information in real time. So you can make a person in a room of 10,000 people feel like they're the only individual that matters. Everything is right to that individual at the right time. I think that type of customer experience will really drive retention with individuals, and they will get the message that you are giving.
And Tommy?
So I think AI, like all technology, it needs to enrich the experience. And so I think AI's impact on customer experience will be, if it can focus on the things that make that journey better, that it's doing the right thing. And that might be making it faster, more efficient, more emotive, or any number of variables. But as long as the human at the end of the machine is happier than they were before the AI, that is AI doing its best job possible.
Emily?
The only thing I'd like to add to what the gents have already said is that AI isn't just being applied to single events or single moments of contact with audiences. It's about an experience being a whole journey. So it's end to end. For instance, going back to Nick's comment on events, you might actually find that it's being used to tailor your sentiment and your opinion on the run up to events as a campaign might be running. Equally, it might be looking at the kind of thing you're interacting with on the event client's website. So it's already garnering the information that might be useful to you on that day. But also, it might also be applied to the run-up or the post-event. What is it that they expect you to have liked? How accurate is that? So it's about that end-to-end experience being complete and tailored at every point, rather than just being at the points wherein you might feel that you're trying to be sold to. It's about more that experience being of value the whole way through.
Complex and fascinating stuff, to say the least. Nick, Tommy, Emily, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks to the listeners and viewers for tuning in. Join us next time as we dive into the weird and wonderful world of AI and data analytics.